Hey everybody, it's Gil here with the Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser, and in last week's episode, we intended to show you a little bit of our Sunday fun day, but instead we did some power washing, and then I got this call from that crazy scam artist, and I just decided that that would be fun to put in the video, so I went ahead and did that. So we're going to start this week's video with our Sunday fun day. If you haven't seen the video with the scam artist from last week, I'm going to put a link right up here. It was really interesting. This guy ended up spending some time talking to me kind of about what it is he does and why he does it. It was just a little surprising to me, actually. So there's a little place here in Cape Coral, Florida. It's called Zoomers, and think of it as like a small amusement park. They have arcade games inside and food venue and go-karts and bumper boats. And then they have, I don't know, I'd probably call it like the equivalent of carnival rides or something like that, but they're permanently mounted. And it's kind of cool. Deb took the girls there while I was up in New Jersey earlier this year, and for the price of about 2 admissions, you can get a season pass. So we went ahead and got season passes, and it's kind of neat. You know, you can run over there, you go on the rides. Heck, sometimes we'll be out running around and we'll just tell the girls, like, well, if you want to go to Zoomers, we can go, but you can only ride 3 rides today, and then we're going to take right off. So it's really cool to be able to just hop in there, go do it, run a couple rides, and then they head right out. And it's close enough. We go by there pretty often, and really, really inexpensive, quite frankly. So as you can see, I think Deb's been working on McKinley and teaching her how to raise her hands when she's on the roller coaster. So it was kind of cute watching her do that each time. But after we spent some time at Zoomers, we went ahead and left there, and we ran over to Bahama Breeze. Deb and I love that little restaurant. I don't know, for some reason it gives me my island fix. Every time I start missing the Caribbean, we'll go over there, have a nice dinner and a couple drinks, and we decided to go over there and enjoy the meal together with the family.
Somebody got clever with their penny.
We've continued to work with Swabby on her swimming and with this little swim trainer. I think I mentioned in an earlier video, it's like a flotation device that has pads in the front and pads in the back. There's 9 pads, and you remove them out so the kids have to get better and better at swimming. And what's kind of cool is she's down to just 1 flotation device out of the 9 in there. It's a thin little piece of styrofoam. It looks like something you might wrap electronics in if you were shipping it, right? It's really small. But it is kind of neat. You know, we've been enjoying the heck out of having the pool here, and you know, the kids swim almost every other day or something like that, as long as the weather's nice. So watching them get excited about little things is kind of interesting. Chaz will actually start swimming laps. She's been working on her swimmer's flips at the end of the pool to continue to swim underwater. And McKinley's been continuing to do a lot of snorkeling, right? She wears the snorkel and the mask. It's a little bit of a safety crutch for her because she can keep her head down and still breathe if she's trying to learn how to swim. But she always is a little bit afraid to jump off the side of the pool into the water. So she usually does this from a step, and she finally went brave enough to jump in off the side, and you know, goes completely under and everything. So as soon as she did that, boy, it was on, and she was jumping like crazy.
Good job!
So now that we're in a house, we're starting to do all these crazy sort of domesticated things. Deb found this local farmers group here where you can go on their website and you can order all kinds of fresh produce. And these different farms all sort of pool together and sell their items kind of in a single online shop. And then they pool together and do the deliveries all as one as well. So, if you order apples, oranges, and spinach, for example, it might come from 2 different farms, but they bring all these items together, they pack them up, and then they actually have a delivery service that brings them out. It's a little bit like a CSA, a community-sponsored agriculture, where you have a subscription and you get sort of whatever's ripe. The difference here is you get to sort of pick and choose your things. So Deb got this sampler kit, and she misread something on number of apples and number of bananas, and it was actually pounds of. So she ended up getting quite a few apples, and we needed to do something with them. She decided to go ahead and make apple butter, so we'll show you how we did that.
Deb's making apple butter.
Deb just peeled the apples and cut them up in small chunks and then cooked them in the pressure cooker for about 4 or 5 minutes, just until they were soft. And at this point, you see her putting them down into the blender. We have one of these Ninja food processor blenders.
Yes! This is so fun in here!
And we put it in there and start to blend it nice and smooth, which we'll do next. Once blended, Deb just goes ahead and puts it back in a pot. We're actually just using the pressure cooker to do it, but you can use any pot, and essentially you're going to cook it until it moisture comes out and it thickens to the texture you want. So now the only thing left to do was to take the small jars of apple butter, let them cool down, and put them in the fridge. And we use them to, spread on toast, almost like a jelly, if you would. And then we also use it to flavor yogurt. Deb makes plain yogurt as sort of a healthy breakfast that we have. And if we want it as apple flavored or strawberry flavor, whatever, if it's apple flavor, we'll just use the apple butter in the yogurt and mix it up. After doing that, we decided to go ahead and take a little trip in the boat. One of the canals here in this whole Punta Gorda area is really wide, like 300 feet wide. And on one side, it's concrete walls, much like our canal is. But on the other side, it's all mangrove. So we decided to go fishing, see if we can get some redfish or maybe some mangrove snapper down in that area. But first, it was time to get the cover off and prepare the boat.
Well, we fished for about an hour, and quite frankly, wasn't that good. Like, literally had not even one bite. McKinley was getting bored. I was getting tired of recasting her pole all the time, so we decided to go ahead and call it. Come on back.
Homes on the canals are just amazing. I don't know if you noticed this. This thing literally has like an opening telescope dome on it. So how you like being captain over there, Deb?
It's nice, but it's different than the sailboat.
Yeah, it doesn't handle nearly as well, does it?
Like the sailboat.
No. I never thought I'd say this sailboat handled well.
It was better than this, I think.
It's a straighter line.
Yeah.
The keel helps a lot.
Oh boy, hey.
What are you doing?
I have this hat on my head. 1 second.
After fishing the canals, we tried to go out a different way to Charlotte Harbor. So we actually came into the canal system right here at Ponce de Leon Park, and we fished right along these mangroves. Then we decided, well, we'll take a drive all the way down and see if we can go out down here by what they call Alligator Creek. And you can see Alligator Creek goes out to the bay. And I say creek, I see 25-foot fishing boats do it all the time, but they don't connect. You have to go through this little mangrove creek, and that's what you saw us doing just a couple of minutes ago. It was a little bit hairy. We went all the way down this straightaway and got right to that section, and it was really shallow. I just couldn't quite seem to find a spot that I was comfortable taking the boat through. I kept working at it, but I'm not even sure. Have we got to Alligator Creek? I'm looking at the satellite map at least, and it looks pretty shoaled over and shallow there. So in the end, we decided to turn around and go all the way back through the canal system and out Ponce de Leon Park where we came in, and then hightail it back up to our place.
So while the girls were playing, I decided to go ahead and do a little bit of work on the boat. When we looked at the boat, didn't seem to see this problem. When the guy dropped the boat off for us, I had a hard time lifting up the outdrive, and he wiggled the wires and it came right on. So I figured it was just a loose connection. But that's the issue I've been having. And after you saw us go through this really shallow water, I thought, you know what? I've got to get to the point where the outdrive can lift up and down. Sitting here at the dock, it's not been a huge issue. It would be nice to trim it slightly when underway. But when we're going through that shallow water, it sure would be nice to be able to lift that thing up and give myself an extra, 6, 8, 10, 12 inches of additional draft room. So I decided to go ahead and get that fixed. Again, I think it's just some loose connections, so it's time to climb on in there and see what we can get done.
I'm running into a slight issue with the hydraulics on the stern drive. I believe I just have a loose connection or something, but you can kind of see here's the pump, and when I actually attempt to turn them on, it just sort of clicks. If I wiggle the wires, it runs. So I know it's just a loose connection down there, probably a little bit corroded on one of them. So let me see what I can get in there, but I've got to do some boating aerobics to get in there.
Once I had all the connections off, it was time to remove the covers and see if I could take the relays out of the housing and then take them up on shore and get them all cleaned up along with all of the contacts that are in the ends of the wiring harness themselves. With the relays out of the boat, I went ahead and just examined them, and I could see they were actually corroded a little bit. You could see the green patina on some of the actual connections, and it just looked like it could use a good cleaning. So I grabbed some CRC electronic contact cleaner. If you've never used this stuff, it really works really well for this kind of thing. I'll put a link for it down in the description below. But I use this in conjunction with an emery board, or a piece of sandpaper works just fine. I just happen to have the emery board handy. After removing all the corrosion from both sides of all the different contacts, I just go ahead and clean it back up with a little bit more contact cleaner, and I use a Q-tip or a little cloth to go ahead and get it clean. But boy, you can see if you look at that just how clean those relays are compared to what they looked like before when they had all that green patina on them.
Well, I've cleaned all those contacts on these relays and cleaned the female sides of each of the connectors with a cut emery board and contact cleaner, and did the same in this plug pigtail that goes to the actual hydraulic pump itself. So when I click the buttons, I hear them click. And they were doing that before, so now let me see if that's enough to get all this working. And go reinstall it back down here on the pump itself.
With everything back installed, it's time for the moment of truth. Well, that is the exact noise that I wanted to hear. So I have a control right here at the actual helm, and then there's another one that's on the swim platform, probably more for if you're pulling up onto a beach or onto a trailer.
A few years ago, Deb and I met another couple, and we met them online, Candidly Nikki and Nauti J. They have also a leaky tiki boat called Nauti Ohana. If you haven't seen their YouTube channel, I haven't posted up very often, but when they do, it's a great channel. I'll put a link to it right up here. And And, we met them and we talked shop a little bit about the boats. We started communicating back and forth, and we would ask each other questions about the refits we were in. So it was kind of neat to have some camaraderie with somebody else kind of going through some of those same boating challenges that we were as we were doing our refit. And we had an opportunity to meet with them a couple of different times. If we've been in their part of the state, we would go by and visit them. And they happened to be near us. They were at a thing in Tampa where they were getting their ABYC certification, which is really cool. But they decided to get together with a couple of people that, all know each other from some of these different Facebook sailing forums that we're part of. So we all went over to Whiskey Joe's, and Whiskey Joe's is a cool place. I'll show some video of it, but, it's this waterfront place right in Tampa. They have, a restaurant upstairs and inside, and then outside they have an outdoor beach area with chairs, sitting out in the water, and, palapas with tables underneath them, and an outdoor bar and dance floor. Just a really cool place. So we ended up meeting with them, got to meet some new people that we hadn't met before, and quite frankly, get to see some friends that we haven't seen in a while. So really cool time. Nikki J, thank you so much for setting it up. That was a lot of fun.
This is the life of a human.
Not a bad evening.
Oh no, you dropped it.
Little ones right here, sitting in chairs in the water.
Hi guys. It's a very good day to go swimming here, but I don't have any. It's pretty hard. It's so
McKinley had a blast spending time with Nikki, and they walked all over the beach picking up plastic straws and just kind of helping clean up the beach, which was neat. And then McKinley was just intrigued by all the birds that would take off when she walked by. Then before the sun went down, it was time to take the obligatory photo of the group. So it was really cool getting to see all these like-minded folks that are also sailors and boat lovers and whatnot. Candidly, Nikki and Nauti J right there next to Deb and I. And then we got to meet several other people, which is really kind of a neat experience. One of the guys afterwards says, "Hey, I think I'm going to hop in and take a quick dip." So had his bathing suit on underneath his jeans, and away he went. As the night wound down, everybody started to go ahead and leave, and I was good and cashing out my tab. But you can see these beautiful palapas and all of the waterfront and beach access with tables and chairs and a dance floor. They have live bands at time, though there wasn't one playing tonight. And then it just carries on up to the main restaurant. And as the sun was setting, you can see the view was just absolutely beautiful. So a wonderful evening with good old friends and new friends as well.
As I mentioned earlier, when the kids get to where they've mastered something, it's funny, they will just do it repeatedly, like ad nauseum. And a few days later, we were out here swimming, and McKinley was jumping in the pool, so I set the camera up on a time lapse, and it just sort of cracked me up. I'll make that my outro here in a minute, but it's funny because, one, it's in fast motion, so for some reason that always makes me laugh and brings back memories of watching old Benny Hill shows or something. But it's jump in the pool, walk out, jump in, walk out, jump in. I mean, she must have done it like 50 times in a row. So anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. If you like this video, do us a favor, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you think others might enjoy it, by all means, please pass it around. I did put a couple links down in the description below for some of the items that we talked about in this week's video. None of them are sponsors or anything like that. They're just really products that work very, very well for us. Thanks, everybody. Safe sailing.